Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Hi, my name is Jaime Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Ready? Play.
Yo, ATP Finals, one of the last of the season, probably. Well, it's going to be a Turin preview. We already had a draw reaction, but we will also, of course, with Mario, cover the Metz and Belgrade events.
Yeah.
Actually, let's just maybe start with Belgrade. I've been seeing a lot of weird takes on Denis Shapovalov floating around, how it's like kind of, the most random thing to happen in 2024, the fact that he claims a title. And sure, it's his first in 5 years, but personally, I guess I was expecting a lot from Dennis's season, and I think on like pure natural talent, he still has what it takes to be back in the top 30 or whatever. He was. I was just checking that today, and he was in the top 20 for 4 consecutive years, pretty much until he got injured in 2023. So maybe this is the start of it, and he did super well to get this one from qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, actually, a very, both titles this week have been won by players starting from qualis, and I think it was 6 years that this hasn't happened. But yeah, about Shapovalov, well, first of all, he was finally starting building some kind of form, because he was starting playing a bit better, getting some wins in the past weeks. So it wasn't, really that random to see he playing so well, even regardless of, how we know he can play, as a tennis player. So he was, for example, he was playing well also in Basel, and he did well actually in the past weeks. And of course, today, there's been a cherry on top. I mean, he, as you mentioned, it's also a great thing for him, because he had some very, very good season, but without winning a title, because he had only one in the ATP Tour in 2019. And to just claim another one, it's for sure very special, and also important for him, because first of all, also of course the feeling of getting a trophy in your hands, and also the rankings, of course, 7 straight wins coming from qualis, and then in May draw also playing so well, because he did very, very well in beating some very tough opponents. Started the main draw with kind of a hard-fought win. The first 2 sets could have gone a bit of kind of either way, so he wasn't really that far from losing against Fucsovics, but then won that second set, won easily the third one, and then started playing better and better throughout the week. And so yeah, I'm really sure that we should expect, of course, him to kind of be back where he belongs, because he is a player that since he is 20, he's pretty much always been at the top of the game. Yeah, hasn't really been a stable presence in the top 10, but 20, he's been there, as you already said, for many years, and he has what he takes, also because he can play actually well kind of everywhere. That's what he has shown in his career so far, regardless of the titles wins. And so yeah, fantastic way to close the season. And now let's see, because he's got for sure closer to the top 50, which is a great starting point also from next year. His season is not over yet because he's going to to play for Canada at the Davis Cup Finals, which can be also a very nice goal. Canada has a nice team, so yeah, let's just see where things goes from now. But for sure, great for him to win a title, given that it hasn't been something that happened week in, week out, or many times so far. And yeah, for sure, next year expectations will be quite high because he finished the year on a high, and the qualities are there.
Yeah, I mean, I already said some of what I think, but I think even if we can laugh about like some of the fact that he can't return with his backhand, the fact that he doesn't have a slice, the fact that he doesn't care about constructing points, it just goes for his shots. It was always enough. Like the highlights were always enough to still be in the mix at least. So to me, it was quite surprising that this year he couldn't achieve even like higher results because, well, I mean, he was healthy from the start of the season, and it was a bit of a slow burn. But eventually he gets there, he gets that title, and I think it's going to give him a great starting point. As you are right to mention, the Davis Cup Finals are coming up, usually an event he's pretty strong in. 2022, when they won it, I think he lost his match in both the quarters and the semis, so maybe not a good example. But he did play well in September when they qualified, and generally he's been very good at the United Cup too.
Yeah.
Bracy, I told you I wasn't going to go for table tennis, but maybe you know that given your laughing emoji. Probably you do. I am very confused right now because I'm doing like a third stream in a row. Everything is on a different topic. Everything. First one was in English, second one is in Polish. Now it's in English again. And everything is just about, I don't know. I'm not really sure what we're talking about here, but I'll try to find my way as we go on. And with Dennis as well, I guess that's really it. As you said, it's a good starting point. The fact that he gained 250, well, even 263 points here is really going to set him up well because first half of the year, he doesn't really have all that much to defend. Generally, his results improved when we entered the indoor part of the season, at least the second indoor part of the season, the post-US Open one, which is also something that, of course, happened in the past. And just to get this title, I think sometimes when we look at a player like Shapovalov, and we think, okay, this is a guy who should be, I don't know if contending for slams, but being in these slam quarters, making ATP finals, ATP 1000 semis or something like that. Like we can just start thinking that okay, a 250 is not meaningful, but it is for him because he was out of the title zone for 5 years and he lost 5 consecutive finals. So it is even more massive for Dennis. And honestly, if Hamad Majedovic had to lose to somebody, I'm fine with Denis Shapovalov. I think this is someone I also really wanted to see pick up a title at some point. Oh, and by the way, Fucsovics, you mentioned that match. Yes, I even will let you in on a little secret. In that opening set, when he lost it from 6-2 in the tiebreak, I already had a tweet prepared that was kind of like, and this is how Shapovalov wraps up the season.
Weird.
And like, it was going to be pretty negative in the sense that I was going to say I was just expecting more. And that 6-2 tiebreak is a very good example of like what went wrong. But he did win it eventually. So, of course, that tweet was deleted. A different couple of tweets were posted about Denis Shapovalov. And we're all cool, hopefully, Dennis. Although I did once kind of call him, I don't remember what I called him, but there was a famous tweet that he, or like even an article that he wrote, which I wasn't a fan of. Anyway, never mind. Hope we're fine, Dennis. By the way, Hamad Majedovic, yes, almost in the top 100. Almost broke it at the very last moment after what's been a challenging season. Still, the fitness issues remain. But I mean, we know that he can do this, right? Like if we were to throw him, like instead of playing 15 challengers to start next season, if we were to give him 15 ATP Tour events, I think he was good. He would do much better than some of the players that are already on the ATP Tour. But of course, you have to get there. He's not going to get there yet, but it's still a glimmer of hope at the end of a tricky season.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we have left him last year on a very high note, winning the Next Gen Finals and showing, let's say, kind of on the big stage for, let's say, the first time. He was getting closer to the top 100 and already, reached 2 semifinals and the ATP Tour on 2 different surfaces, playing playing well. It's still that one his best ranking on 102, and that tells you a lot on how things have gone kind of wrong, because even when I saw best ranking 102, I was like, okay, maybe it is like at the beginning of this year in April, and then I saw October 23, and I was like, oh my god, so of course expectations were higher, even because we have seen this week how just well he played. I've seen a couple of matches, and I have kind of followed him, so I knew that he could played very well. Saw this many times, but this week he even surprised me in some matches, in some parts, also because of this from the rally tolerance point of view, how well he was also defending in some moments of the matches. Something that probably is not the first thing that maybe you would think about him. So also improving on this side, but at the same time, it's been a tough season because of also issues from physical point of view. We still have seen something this week too. At one moment, for example, I thought that in the semi-final against Jere, I thought like probably it's things are getting too tough, maybe he's going to slip away from him, and we weren't that far. I think that the things are pretty clear regarding him. We've seen how well he can play. He should be ranked way higher than how it is, because what he can do, the weapons he has, but also his game is pretty complete also. And so he has what it takes to be in a better position right now. But for sure it will depend on a lot of things. I feel like mentally I'm seeing some improvements. Physically, let's see what happens. Hopefully in the off season is going to do a great training, and then maybe with a little bit of luck too, next year gonna be more consistent, because it's not actually the first time. Even talking about big stages, we've also seen how close he was, for example, in Rome, to get a very good win against Medvedev. And when he's been there, when he's been fit, when he's been also in the right place, he's shown that he can be pretty much a factor on the in tour level tournaments. So that should be the goal for next year, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just don't feel like he's made any progress this season, like whatsoever. It's kind of not his fault, at least at first. He had that illness in the first 4 months of the season. He was out for like 2 months. It kept building up. He comes back. His physicality isn't back where it was, even though his physicality in general is quite a big flaw for now.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm hoping for Medvedev here is that he's just going to have a good off season where he can work on this finally, as he really needs it. I think even this week we saw it. The match he played against Jere, obviously he was like ailing there in the second set. Third set though, when he had to, he found some energy. He was really grinding his ass off in that tiebreak, as I think you were also hinting at this, that like he can when he wants to. And obviously, the Thunder's power, the weapons are still there. You mentioning the next gen finals, it just basically reminded me of someone asking the question last year at the end of the next gen ATP finals: is it going to be Stricker or Medvedev ranked higher in 2024? And I remember saying Medvedev, and I was right, but not the way I wanted it to be. I thought Stricker was going to be, I don't know, like top 60 maybe, and Medvedev like top 30ish or something. But the potential is still there. Like if he can just have a full season next year, no issues, I think that sort of level is still achievable for him. This week, it could have been a very unexpected shot out of nowhere. I don't think he lost the final today due to fatigue. His return obviously isn't the strongest part of his game either. It really hurt him in that 5-4 game for Shapo in the first set when he had 2 break points. It just doesn't really connect with the returns at all. But overall, of course, if he can just stay healthy, he's going to have a finer year next year, I'm pretty sure. Avoids something like this, works on that fitness finally, and we're going to get him on the main tour. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in Belgrade, what else did we have in terms of like a big story? Maybe, well, one of the big stories was the fact that we were supposed to get Alex de Minaur playing this event.
Yeah.
But in the end, we actually didn't. He was the top seed. He pulled out. Of course, that was after Novak Djokovic announced his withdrawal from the ATP Finals. And this kind of brings me to a question that I didn't know when I was going to ask, but I knew that I was going to ask it. Do you think that these events should be taking place? Like, should there be ATP Tour events after Paris? Should they count towards the race? These are two different questions, but I guess I'm posing them both right now because I've seen a lot of talk about this over the week.
I mean, for me, it's okay that there are these two tournaments. I think, you can just avoid the situation with a simple rule. The race to Turin, closes with the ATP Masters 1000 in Paris, and then these events. For me, I'm okay with having these two events because every player who's ranked 10, 11, 12, 20, 40, 60 can have another chance to try to get his hands to a title, to get some points, and to close the season in a nice way. So I'm not against the existence of these tournaments in this particular week. But yeah, I think, of course, for me, the race to Turin should have been closed after Paris, with Rublev just awaiting, of course, the decision for Novak. And, this is what it could have been. It would have been, an easier way also to handle of this. Also, both from the draws in these tournaments, but also from, I don't know, marketing point of view. Imagine Novak doesn't pull out, and they need to play and to eventually reach the final or win the title in order to overcome Djokovic in the race, and so they are stuck there until Saturday. And so there is sort of a media day on Tuesday with all the content, and like 5 players out of 8, 6 players. So I just don't think it's a clever thing to do. But regarding the existence of these two tournaments, I am not really against, because it's still 250s, which can be very nice with players ranked, I don't know, between 15, 20, if they want to, or these players that we've seen right now, it's fine for me. So, but yeah, for the race, for me, it's not the most clever thing to do, especially I, not a fan of Rublev going there, playing one match, winning it, and then pulling out. At least, I don't know, de Minaur just let a lucky loser entering. Probably, did a little bit better from that perspective. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's also my take, that I like what Alex did more. Then again, I think Rublev, the situation was that like Djokovic withdrew maybe like 2 hours before his match.
Yeah.
So
also,
he didn't really have all that much time to react. So I guess he can get a pass for this. At least I'm fine giving him a pass. But yeah, I would agree. I think in fact, I will hazard a guess that next year the ATP race will end after the ATP final, after the Paris ATP 1000, because I think this week we just saw a lot of drawbacks of this whole thing.
Yeah.
How like Belgrade and Metz at first, they thought that they were going to be super lucky because they thought that they were going to have the close, tight battle all the way until the end. But in the end, I mean, yeah, they just had so many withdrawals, especially Metz, and their big players withdrew. Belgrade didn't have Metz didn't have a quarterfinal because Rublev pulls out. Belgrade doesn't have a top seed because the winner pulls out. Kasper shows up in Metz while clearly not caring about playing in Metz. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that that's why Bonzi won. He could have won against Rudinder Hard in any scenario. But I mean, he was in Oslo the day before, and it's just in the end.
Let's not forget also about other players. I don't know, Dimitrov asking for a wild card, and it wouldn't have happened if there was the rule, that these events don't count towards the race,
and Dimitrov lost to Khachanov, eliminating himself from the ATP race like 2 hours after the Metz draw was published on Friday.
Exactly.
And he still waited. I mean, I think the tournament maybe even asked him to wait until like Wednesday, Thursday, maybe to announce his withdrawal so that people buy tickets and everything. I'm pretty sure that's how it's done. But I mean, you instantly knew the moment he lost to Khachanov and was also not fit that like he's not going to show up in Metz. He doesn't have any incentive to play there really. So yeah, I think this week really showed us that this is not the right way to go. Someone that might be a little bit disappointed with this is the events that will be happening just a week before the ATP finals, because they want that sort of like, additional, like who's going to qualify thing. But in the end, they didn't even get it this week. And you mentioned the media day, but also the draw ceremony on Thursday. Like if we didn't actually know how all the players are going to be, because even Casper, I think,
we
was
would have
still,
had numbers.
Exactly, we would have had numbers, and it's fine. It can work, but it's not the
like
best.
7 will
And
be
if we
there
could have
and
that-
8 will be there, and
precisely. So it's good. It's okay. It's a way to work around this, but it's not ideal. So I
Absolutely
think
not.
by next year, I'm pretty sure we're not gonna have this situation. I think they're gonna change the rules. And yeah, I guess that's really all there is to say about this. I still want these events. Obviously, this is like some of my favorite events of the season. But anyway, let's move on to Metz.
Yeah,
then,
no, I'm
where
telling
we
you
had
another
plenty-
thing.
Yeah.
I also spent so much time reading the rule book and trying to find any kind of rule about it, and nothing. I found nothing, So probably it's also been an issue
About
of
what?
the race. Where does it close? It's not really.
No, it's very easy to find in the rulebook. Actually, it's the 4th section, I think, which is called World Championships, and then you have Nito ATP Finals, and then you have so I don't remember the exact phrasing, but it's after the last ATP Tour event of the year.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just not in the section like the competition or the code.
Yeah,
the ones
because
that
I'm
you
also
usually
wondering if, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not a situation that's happened often lately, For example, last year we knew already everything after Paris. So I don't know if it's also been an issue due to some, I don't know, kind of negligence from somebody, or I don't know. Because
I
it's
think
a
the
bit
last
weird,
couple of years. I think the last couple of years functioned like this, where the last events were post Paris, but of course, that this year we saw actually how that can kind of backfire. Anyway, let's move on to Metz, where he had Benjamin Bonzi winning his first title. Not someone that we would have figured was going to win an ATP Tour title this year before maybe like October, or even actually before November. But he did go 21-1 in 33 days. He did grab an enormous number of points. I think it's like 488 or something like
something
that
similar.
in 4 events, which is going to be insane for him next year. Like he doesn't have anything to defend until Ilkley, maybe like 1 Clay Challenger semi, I think. He was injured in 2023, although he was still like playing, but wasn't at his best. Of course, that was also the year when at the beginning he made 2 ATP finals.
Yeah.
He's out. This year he's like, I don't know, he's outside the top 100. He's not getting any results. He's playing like this hit or miss attacker. He suddenly makes that Ilkley semi. He wins a challenger in Canada in July, but nothing improves all that much. But of course, he is amazing indoor friend in France indoors, definitely. He won 6 challengers in 2021, winning 3 in a row. Almost wins 3 in a row again. Loses to Virtanen in the Brest final. 3 match points saved. Comes into Metz and just rocks the world. Demolishes everybody but Mikkelsen, which by the way was such a weird match. I guess we'll get to that. But yeah, in the end, it's just a fantastic run that gives him the top 100 at the year end, gives him the Australian Open main draw, and what a starting position for 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. You are mentioning all, those sorts of concrete things which are incredibly important, because we cannot avoid talking about how important it is, for example, the main draw cutoff for a Grand Slam, and also the fact that not having those points to defend at the beginning of the year, and starting already from this position well inside the top 100, it can really help him, to build for himself a great season. Talking about at least the schedule on which tournaments he's about to choose, and so this is great. And also considering his trajectory, over the past year, it's also kind of deserved that he won an ATP title. First of all, it's deserved because of the run he has been going lately, and what he did this week, starting from the qualifying draw, but also because of course the two finals that he had already reached. Another one in France, but also one in Pune, where he wasn't far from winning it. It was a very hard-fought one, and so it feels nice that he managed to win this title. And of course, it's also a great reward to win your first tour level title after going on such a great run, because we see a lot players who have, I don't know, incredible couple months, an incredible month, but they kind of struggle to win the title. They maybe got a lot of semis and final, and maybe lose that important match, and maybe they play well again the next week because they are in great form and confidence. But Bonzi, no, he didn't. Won three titles lately. Adding this one, of course, 3 titles, and of course the first one on 250 level, which is also incredibly important, also from his career. And yeah, let's see. I mean, he's a great player. It's been also a very fun week to follow his own. You were mentioning the semi-final, which for some moments in the third set, it's been incredibly fun match, even if maybe not for the reason we often say fun. So yeah, actually, very, very happy that he managed to get to this position and this moment.
Yeah, I think it kind of helped him that he didn't have that good a season, because in 2021, when he won these 3 challengers in 3 weeks, like, he was done after that. That was all he had for that year. Up until the end of the year, he won like 2 matches in 5 events or whatever. And then this year, like, he didn't actually have all that much in his legs yet when he had that run. And yeah, he only takes a few days, comes back in the qualifying, already looks like, I don't know if a potential winner, but honestly, probably. I mean, he's really an indoor hard expert. He comes back to playing smart, kind of like economical tennis, instead of what he was doing most of the year, which was just like suddenly turning into a hit or miss, no Shapovalov-like attacker, let's say. And then, yeah, Ruud, of course, the biggest winner of his career, ranking-wise. I don't know. I mean, some people will say that Casper just wanted to lose. I think, maybe not on purpose, but certainly his motivation wasn't fully there. I think Bonzi and Ruud, it was like even odds or something like that, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, this form, I think he could have beaten Casper even without the ATP finals in sight. So I don't think it's anything that really takes away from his run.
No.
But yeah, that match against Alex Mikkelsen, that was the moment when he could have choked it away. Because today he was actually very clutch. The break points he was saving in the first set. And I was kind of thinking going into this one, yeah, he has 2 finals. As you said, maybe he didn't really choke them. I think there were some moments in the Griekspoor one. I don't remember really like the points exactly, but I think there might have been a smash that he missed, and it could have been a breakup in the third or whatever. I don't remember the exact details. But definitely I was thinking, it's just a bigger match for him, really. It's a massive occasion, and I don't know how he's going to handle it, especially after watching that semi against Alex Mikkelsen, where Alex, well, he had some abdominal issue and was serving sometimes underarm, sometimes he had that forehand serve. And still Bonzi struggled to beat him.
Even if, I mean, we know that it's not that easy. I mean, you have this incredible run. You feel like it can be your chance for a title. Also, giving your opponent physical state. You start serving that way. It's not the very easy situation to handle. So, but yeah, of course, if he had lost that match, for sure he would have had many regrets. Even because, who knows, would have Mikkelsen, even played today? Who knows? I don't know. was probably difficult for him, considering his physical state. So, well, for sure, he's been great in just surviving the match. And then today, yeah, I agree, he's been played very well in the important moments, especially winning that first set. It's been incredibly important. He was down a break, then he breaks back right again. That game where he saved, I think it was 10 break points in that same game, all of them saved. So I mean, just great stuff. And yeah, I mean, why paying that much of attention to the match against Casper Ruud? I mean, first of all, he could have won anyway. Then again, he won other 6 matches in order to win the title. So, I don't think we really have to pay any kind of sort of attention, so great moment, and for sure a good moment also for Nori. We mean how tough of a season it's also been for him. So even for him, it's been, a good week that can serve as, let's say, a starting point. Let's see next year how it's gonna go. But for sure, better late than never. Also, I mean, the injury he's had, for sure, he made him miss kind of a couple of months, something like that. Never easy. So a big week for both, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna just jump to Nori indeed. This is the Vange Vermani section of the show, James Tennis Ranter section of the show. I don't actually remember how what James's surname is. Anyway, I call him. Let's call him James Tennis Ranter. And obviously, Cam, yeah, this year also just a huge step down from the quality of 2023, 22, even 21 as well. And just in terms of overall consistency, if you look at his, for example, number of wins that he's amassed on the main tour this year, I think 2021 was over 50, 2022 it was like 40, and then kind of just drops down to 20 this year, which, it really shows you the sort of level that he dropped down to. And even when he went, to play in Rouen, I don't know, just the usual things that make him great, even like the shot tolerance, the consistency, they just weren't there. The loss he had to Van Asch there, whom he also beat this week. That was just a nightmare from 6-1, 5-3 up. So it was looking really horrible for Nori this season, but he just suddenly gets this. And as you said, maybe it's a starting point. He kind of had a weird run because he had that Mute match where they're bickering and, it's such weird styles. He plays Carballes Baena, who's not an indoors player. He plays Van Asch and also goes 3 sets with him again. So all in all, I think it was a pretty interesting route that I kind of didn't really know how to estimate. Like going into the final, I was just not sure how much stock I should put into it. But I guess Cam played well in the final, despite all the breakpoints. And of course, that kind of really decided the match.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a kind of a weird run also because...
Kind of snakehead, by the way, about Jason Brooksby.
Against Van Asch and Bergs, for how the match went, it shouldn't have gone 3 sets. Probably in either match. But yeah, I mean, still good signs for him, of course. He was coming off some tough losses and had many actually this year. I mean, won very, very few matches. I think we are back at like 2019 level in terms of how many won on the ATP Tour. But yeah, for sure, first of all, his ranking gonna breathe after this run in Metz, and then let's see, maybe this week can give him just some confidence also to work in the right direction also when the off season will come, and to just try, because he started the season actually not that bad, because I remember also him playing well at the Australian Open, but then it's been it's gone downside actually. So you've mentioned all these also technical things that he was doing really well, that they weren't really eye-catching, but they were keeping him very, very close to the top 10 for almost 3 years in a row, almost. So basically after, let's say, that title that he won in Rio, things had started going progressively, down for him, then the injury. And yeah, let's see now how this week will be placed in his, let's say, career trajectory, considering how next season can go for him. For sure he got some big wins, because some of these players that he beat, still not easy to get these wins consecutively, considering how his season was going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is pretty much where we're gonna end with Metz, and just finish it off with talking about the ATP finals. But one more thing, I guess, we already mentioned that, like, Rublev and Ruud, of course, were the seeds that kind of didn't really have the intention to go deep in Metz. They would have been kind of stupid to go deep in Metz, I would even say, given the points at stake at the ATP finals. And of course, it led to some like weird situations where people who lost in the first round of the qualifying were also getting in as lucky losers, like I think Luka Vanash and Theo Papamalamis. Anyway, ATP finals. We had a draw reaction to this already. I think it was me and Vansh. Now, Mario, we're dying to get some of your takes. I don't think we're gonna go super. I don't think we're gonna get super deep into every player, but definitely we can kind of go in general directions. So, of course, the Ilya Nastase group is Sinner, Medvedev, Fritz, and Deminor. Basically, how confident are you? I'm not even gonna ask you if you think that Sinner is gonna be out of this group stage. I think that's obvious. I'm gonna ask you instead, how confident are you that he's gonna go 3-0?
I mean, quite confident, I'd say, but at the same time, it will depend on a lot of things. Also, actually watching, how tomorrow all the players are going to look like in these conditions, and also, how they're going to play, and the impression that they're gonna make on me. But talking right now, I should be expecting it. Last year he had the tougher group. The memories I have from him also from last year, and of course not only last year in Turin, but also the whole season. I mean, he is 4-1 this year against Medvedev, beat Fritz in the US Open final, beat Deminor in Rotterdam, and never lost to Deminor in his career. When he lost to Fritz, he was actually 20. It was kind of another era ago. So it will be probably a little bit surprising to see him losing a match, also considering how the matchup against Medvedev has turned around over the past 13-14 months. But if it will be 2-1, it will be a bit surprising. I don't know how much I'd say shocking. Probably would be shocking for me if he loses kind of, I don't know, tomorrow. Because it's first match, of course, very important to, if he is going to lose a dead rubber, then maybe it would be, not as shocking as maybe a loss tomorrow, for example, in the opening match. So let's see. But I think I am expecting him to go 3-0.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting that too. I would say maybe if he is going to lose to somebody, who would that be, Mario?
I'd still probably go with Medvedev, because I just think that if he's fit, of course he's the one who feels like having what it takes to trouble Yannick. Fritz, I don't know what I watched at the US Open, probably still too much in my mind. And while of course Medvedev, I know that he's lost 7 out of the last 8, but still some of them have been very close. we know that something like that probably, can happen. So I'm still going with him. Probably Fritz and de Minaur, I'm expecting a little bit less. Maybe they will be able to trouble him in the match, but I still, struggle to see him not coming out as the winner from those two matches.
Yeah, I mean, for me, definitely, I kind of feel like Fritz maybe even at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Because 2022, he did okay at the finals. He doesn't miss that backhand against Djokovic, and maybe we have a match there. So I am thinking maybe he could wake up a bit. I mean, of course, he is here only on the basis of that US Open final, and that US Open final was depressing as hell. But in Turin, he might just, go into a
he's also
more
the
of a
one
serving contest.
whose service looks
Exactly.
better, compared to Medvedev and de Minaur. So yeah, probably that can be a factor in making, more difficult for Yannick to break. And then if, gets close, maybe Fritz wins the tie break and, I don't know, goes up a set. Yeah, that's also right. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to make upsets against players who are this good off the ground, you probably need to just get them in a bit of a serving battle, and yeah, maybe that is the chance. Anyway, what we are going to say here as well is number 2 in this group, then, because number 1 is clearly Sinner. We've got Medvedev, Fritz, and de Minaur. And I think this is actually very close. Of course, Daniil has these shoulder issues and the serve, the forehand, he's been impacted. Fritz, nothing since the US Open, but did well last time. De Minaur, the only debutant in the field. But actually, form-wise, last few weeks after recovering from that hip issue, yeah, he's been okay. So I think all of them are actually at a pretty similar level. I think if memory serves right, me and Vanch kind of wanted to, just have a different peak, and not different from each other, but just not go like Sinner Medvedev straight up. And I think we both said Sinner Fritz on the draw reaction. But honestly, I think for me, there's no right or wrong here. Medvedev, Fritz, de Minaur, they're all pretty close. Usually, I would say that Alex's ceiling is the lowest of these players. Yes, I just don't have that much confidence that right now this is the most important thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I actually think that I was doing the same thing but in the chat with Vanch, and I actually say de Minaur to progress. I don't know. I think he can. I think he can trouble Fritz as a matchup. Fritz is actually the one who has a negative record against all the players in the group, but even that, I don't think it matters that much. It's close, I have to say. We've seen de Minaur beating Medvedev on clay, which has, as much as clay is not Medvedev's face, it's maybe not where I was expecting him to surge and beat him, even if Alex did the great progress with his, of course, clay game, and we've seen also this year. So yeah, it feels like a close contest, and that's also why for me it's also important to see them. I mean, if the Turin court is as we have seen, in the past years, I think de Minaur gonna have no issues in terms of the conditions. It's probably the conditions he prefers playing in. And then, yeah, I mean, Fritz, of course, you mentioned the serve situation. I remember him was serving incredibly well in 22 when he played in Turin. And of course, Medvedev, it will be important to see how his serve is going to look. I mean, never looked really well this year. But I don't know, maybe the shoulder can do, I don't know, fine for these matches. As for what I've understood, it's kind of a consistent issue, but at times it's, less prominent. At times it's bothering him more. So yeah, for me, actually I had de Minaur, I remember reading your tweet where it was kind of the power ranking. And I had another with only de Minaur, which was above Ruud and Rublev. Then, of course, watching the groups, he goes down, probably because, if he was in Rublev's group, probably, I think he would have entered the match against Ruud as the favorite. But yeah, in this group, it's difficult for me, actually. But yeah, I have the feeling that this may not be Medvedev's time to get out of the group.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of also have the idea that probably it's just, we want to be a little bit more creative with the picks. Like, if I was going for like the most likely, I would still probably say Sinner Medvedev, but I don't have that much confidence in Daniil at the moment yet.
Also, because
as you said,
this is the group where we can have a little bit of,
exactly. Yeah. So this is the one where we're looking for something. I still don't know your opinion about the John Newcomb group. I'm gonna find out soon. But yes, that was my way of thinking as well. That like, if we wanna be creative about the pick, this is the group to do it rather than the second one. And yeah, I also don't have that much confidence in Daniil, which is why I put him in that tier list that you mentioned. I put him in the free category, which usually I would like to have him higher. I just can't really go higher with him at the moment. And yeah, really, that's it. So I put him right next to Fritz, which is also really like a good reflection of what I think about them in the groups here, even though that was done before the groups. Some candy bar conversation in the chat. Anyway, let's talk about that John Newcomb group. You kind of hinted at it already, but like Zverev, Alcaraz, is it just a done deal that they're going to qualify? If someone doesn't qualify, then which one of these two?
For me, it will be very surprising, actually, for both, to see them not qualifying, because I actually kind of wanted De Minaur to take Ruud's place, because for me, Ruud and Rublev are the two players that are, less in form, less playing, not as good as the others, not even De Minaur, Fritz. They are, for me, in a better place. So for me, having the two separated would have been a nice thing, actually. I really don't trust them. Casper played well in 22, but he's not in that, in that form, and also the opponents are different. To beat Zverev and Alcaraz, we know how Zverev in Turin has actually always looked good when he played, because even last year he goes out in round robin, but with a positive record. Getting a win against Carlos. So he was close to win that first set, very close to win that first set against Medvedev. And, he actually was good, last year in 21, of course, was amazing. We know how good it played 3 years ago there. So, Alcaraz, I mean, I struggle to see him losing against Casper and Andre right now. It's. I think it will be interesting to see the round robin match between Zverev and Alcaraz, because especially if they both win on Monday, they can play maybe with a little bit less of pressure than other encounters they had, for example, the French Open final. So it can be interesting to see them, playing also 1 year after the match they played in 23 in Turin. But yeah, I'm struggling. Probably can say Zverev, but I would be actually surprised, very much surprised, even if Zverev doesn't qualify. So I cannot really answer to your question. For me, this group is quite clear. Then I don't know, maybe somebody surprised me. Rublev also never really played that well in Turin. Yeah, you say 22, he got to the semis, but was that a good showing from Andre in 22? I don't know. So yeah, I'm not confident in them, actually, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, personally, sorry, yeah, I'm just watching. Oh yeah, that was the match point. Basavara DTN in Knoxville. It was a pretty crazy match point. Like, Nishash hit the line and then had to come up with a half volley. Anyway, I think what I'm gonna say is that yes, Zverev, Alcaraz, big favorites. I'm probably gonna say that. Well, just a boring answer in that the player that loses the match between them, which is likely to happen on Wednesday, then that player will have just, no margin for error. And maybe that's the player that slips up somehow. Yeah. Like if someone is beating one of them, probably Rublev rather than Ruud. But yeah, I would probably just say that we have 3 locks for the semifinal, and I also don't really know. Last year, Zverev beat Alcaraz in Turin. I think this time I wouldn't go into it thinking, yeah, he has to win like I did last year. This time I would probably go into it thinking, yeah, it's a 50-50 or thereabouts. Carlos has gotten maybe a little bit better in managing courts like this, but of course still lost in Paris. As I've said in the draw reaction, I mean, players like Humbert, they aren't really in this event. Like they are the players like Humbert, Fils, Shelton, Draper.
Exactly.
Like they would all be more dangerous to Alcaraz than guys like Ruud or Rublev to me. Maybe Rublev is harsh. Maybe it's a stretch, but definitely more than Ruud. Bracy is asking which player from each group is likely to get swept.
I don't have this confidence, actually.
Yeah.
For me, I'm really
Casper,
placing them kind of together.
Maybe Casper only?
Yeah, probably. But I don't know if Ruud and Rublev face. I'm not seeing Rublev in a better position, actually. Then I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have good feelings about Andre. Let's see what happens. But I don't know.
Yeah, so basically, I think that Casper has a shot. I mean, him beating Zverev or Alcaraz right now seems a little far-fetched. And then, of course, it's only one match to get swept. Then again, Rublev beating them is also not exactly all that likely. So I guess from his perspective, it could also be another match to not to get swept. What I will say, though, is that Group A is, for me, very likely to go 3-0, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, for example. So I don't think I would say that a 0-3 result there is that likely. As we saw at the WTA finals this week, even a 2-1 record isn't a guarantee. So yeah, any of these groups could really go in many different ways. Of course, Swiatek, yeah, is just a really good example of a player who dominated her third fixture, and yet it wasn't enough. So we know that
because sets are, of course, very important, you know.
Yeah.
For example, let's imagine, I don't know, De Minaur loses tomorrow, but manages to win a set. It's a big deal, actually. Or it can be, maybe not, but, so, it's interesting, this round robin format from that point of view, because you never know. You lose a set here and maybe it can cost you the qualification. For example, I don't know, the set Iga lost against Krejcikova. Probably it's, let's see. But yeah, I actually don't really, about the John Newcomb group, actually, except maybe for the match where Zverev and Alcaraz will face each other.
Yeah, I think we do have a little bit of a problem right now with the ATP finals, I suppose, in that, yeah, it's just all very free favorites and the others don't really stand up. But maybe Medvedev and Fritz can kind of provide some danger there. I think Ruud, Rublev, De Minaur, their chances of winning the event are a little theoretical, like in the sense that if they make it out of the groups. Huh?
A little slightly better, of course, but in the big matches, I don't know, this year so far hasn't, really delivered when he's, the US Open final, but even, I don't know, when he faced Carlos in Laver Cup. So let's see. I will be very interesting, of course, to see tomorrow's match, the first one, because it can be, one of these matches that determine the world group situation.
Yeah, I think for me it's pretty much similar. Ruud, Rublev, De Minaur, even if they make it out of the groups, I'm not sure I trust their ability to win 2 matches from there. Still, it's Sinner, Zverev, and Alcaraz at the top. Is there any correct order for you in terms of Zverev or Alcaraz being the second favorite?
For the group, you mean?
For the title. For the title.
Okay, because for the group, I would say that it doesn't really matter for me, because if the conditions suit Zverev, the pressure won't be that high, you know what I mean? And while for the world title, I would still place probably Alcaraz slightly ahead. because I'm thinking, even if he still hasn't got those big, titles and wins in these conditions, when he's got to play under pressure. And so even if, I don't know, maybe in these conditions Zverev can be a tough matchup for Yannick. I don't know, probably Yannick at the ATP finals in the Turin court enters as the favorite against Carlos. I don't know. I still would say Carlos.
Yeah, for me, I think it's very close. As you mentioned that tier list, I put them together. I couldn't quite justify on a court like this putting Alcaraz next to Sinner. Zverev, I think someone even suggested that he should be next to Sinner, and I think that's also a stretch. Like I was considering doing like 3 different tiers for basically all of them, but then I figured Alcaraz and Zverev are the closest to
Yeah,
one
it's
another.
fine.
Yeah, and I could have had like 6 tiers actually, because I was also thinking of putting Ruud below Rublev and Deminor. But anyway, that's where we are. Who is losing to Sinner in the final at Turin? Is Ozan Kabak is asking. I mean, yeah, if Sinner is qualifying first, then we have him playing Zverev or Alcaraz in the semis, right? And then Zverev or Alcaraz probably play him in the finals. So probably the winner of the John Newcomb group is losing to Sinner in the final at Turin. Like that's the most expected outcome. Both Zverev and Alcaraz would be the favorites over Medvedev.
I think,
Fritz,
of
or
course,
Deminor.
Zverev and Alcaraz has had a very nice, of course, also being in that group. If especially I think Zverev, because maybe having Carlos in his group can be not as bad as it may seem, because I don't know, maybe he wins the round robin match, qualifies first, so then avoids a semi-final against both Sinner and Alcaraz. And so I think if I'm Zverev, I'm not that disappointed in having had this group, because I'm still a clear favorite to progress to the semi-final. Who knows? Maybe I beat Carlos, I qualify first, and then I have an easier semi. Even if I mean easier, if it's Medvedev, the matchup has not been easy for Zverev, but still right now probably he enters as the favorite on the court.
Yeah, and Dave says he can see Zverev losing to Sinner. I think if someone is a head-to-head enjoyer, they definitely know that Zverev actually has a positive one against Sinner. So maybe that's something to look at. And definitely Zverev has been one of the few players this year who have shown the ability to stand up to Sinner. However, he has not beaten him. Of course, it's not like they played many times. I think just once.
Just
but
once,
it was a very good match in Cincinnati nonetheless. Otherwise, Sinner lost to Tsitsipas, who's not here. Sinner lost to Rublev, who's here, but, well, they probably won't be facing off. He lost, of course, to Alcaraz 3 times, and he lost to Medvedev, whom he will be facing in the group stage. But, well, he won 7 of their last 8 meetings, even 8
actually,
out of 9, if you want to
it's
count
already
16.
the third time they play at the ATP finals.
Yeah, and that first match was very exciting, right?
Yeah, I remember.
0-6, 7-6, 7-6 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Sinner won the tiebreak then, and Medvedev won the tiebreak in the third set, even if it was a dead rubber for him.
Well, but I think more or less that's it. I mean, clearly there are 3 favorites. We are clear about that. We have the Ilya Nastase group playing tomorrow. You saw on the screen that there's going to be a watch along from Fritz playing Medvedev, and then there's also going to be Sinner Deminor, which has been the most horrible matchup over the years, 7-0 from Sinner's perspective. So, well, Alex has a very tough hill to climb there. Maybe he can do the Qin Wen Zheng, and get the rough matchup right away, and then actually, well, almost win. We will also have, as you can see, the WTA Finals review with Renee Stubbs. John says that we might also do a watch along for Sinner Deminor, but that's basically all we can say for now. Tennis KitKat is asking, will we be spared of so many Sinner Medvedev matches next year? Don't you like this matchup? I mean, well, okay, yeah.
It's not that bad. Lately, it's been.
Yeah,
lately
okay.
it's been.
I understand. Yeah, sure. I mean, Wimbledon was fun. US Open already started trending in the wrong direction, I would say. I was excited for that much more than, I was excited by what I saw there. But okay, it's a Medvedev fun. Yeah, I get that. Like at the US Open, I thought, okay, this can be another Wimbledon.
Thing is that, I mean, if he wants to win these titles next year, he's going to face Yannick or Carlos.
Yeah.
Again. So it's a tough situation,
And they are so good that he needs like literally anything he can find, any edge he can find against them. So that shoulder, the fact that he hasn't been able to like practice his serve correctly and everything is making it even tougher. And as Dave says, he's a bit out of ideas. Like back in the day, it used to be, okay, Medvedev is just so tough off the ground that Yannick isn't going to out-rally him ever. Right now, it's the other way around. Right now, it's Daniel who thinks that he has to, or actually he's probably right about it. He thinks that he needs to step out of his comfort zone, go for that enormous number of backhand unforced errors. And it almost worked in the Australian Open final. But of course, there he played like this because he was tired as hell. Later on, he kind of played like this because he doesn't have any other idea. Anyway, probably then when, as you can see in our poll, which only has 9 votes to be fair, but 5 people voted for Sinner, 3 for Alcaraz, 1 for Other. What? Other?
Yeah, it's tough for me to imagine actually.
If you're on the stream right now, come in.
As good I'm kind of always faithful in Medvedev's abilities. For example,
so you went for Medvedev. You went for Medvedev because you're a Medvedev fan, right?
Yeah, but then.
Oh, so now we have 2 votes for Other apparently, and there's just 1 vote in the poll. So interesting, guys.
Anyway,
yeah. I mean,
Other was me. I voted for Medvedev. Okay, it's weird.
I guess I can see Medvedev for Fritz. I can't blame you. Rublev, Ruud, Deminor, yeah, they that would be insane. That would be a very surprising ATP Finals winner, maybe the most surprising since Grigor Dimitrov in 2017. Although it was Grigor Dimitrov, I guess he was. I guess 2017 there was just one favorite and everyone was expecting him to win. So anyone but Federer was surprising.
For me, actually, even if Fritz wins, it would be more surprising than Dimitrov 17.
Dimitrov? Yeah, I think so. Because when you have just one favorite, like in 2017, like lots can
He's
go
out,
wrong.
and then I mean, and Dimitrov had won Masters, was in, of course, close to the Australian Open final. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's just the fact that when you have one favorite, even if he looks very strong.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, even if he looks very strong, you basically have that situation where if he loses somehow to David Goffin, even though he beat him like a month earlier, without breaking sweat, then basically it's open. And here we have
a bit like, I don't know, US Open 2020. That was also a situation where
that was a similar situation. Yeah, Djokovic was favored after winning Cincinnati, and then he's out in weird circumstances. And
he was also 26-0 in the year.
All right, yeah, because he saved these match points against Monfils in Dubai. I forgot he was still unbeaten. Because of the weird way that the year was structured, I forgot he was still unbeaten.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it didn't really mean anything because there was like a 4-month break, but
it meant something, I guess. Played 4 events, won all 4 events. Dave is predicting Alcaraz win. And Brazy was watching some practice videos. Apparently, yes, people have been checking that out and saying that the courts aren't playing as fast as last year. And Dennis Kitka is actually mentioning that right now exactly. So I'm kind of willing to just wait and see for myself how they're going to be playing.
Exactly.
I haven't been watching the practice videos. Definitely don't have time for that. But I guess I'm just gonna wait and see. But I have heard these comments, yes, that the Turin court is playing a little slower than last year. All right, I think now we can finally end this this marathon of streaming for me.
Probably Djokovic lying in the semi and in the final convince the organizers to slow down the court a bit.
Maybe, but then again, Novak is not even here. So
yes, exactly.
Quick thoughts: Tien versus Eubanks. I mean, Chris Eubanks. You know what I think about Chris Eubanks' game? Like, he's been more of a challenger quarterfinalist recently. Lerner today against Basavaredi, like, once again made a very aggressive player look completely out of answers. Against Chris, I mean, Chris at least has the serve to rely on, but do I really trust him to win a match when he almost lost to Spizziri, who's playing like let's say a similar style to Lerner, but right-handed? Probably not. Like, the games, some of the streaks he had against Elliott, especially like early in the third set, was it? No, sorry, it was when he was up. He was up by a double break in the third set, and then when he allowed Spizziri back in, like, if he does that against Lerner, he's done. I think I like Lerner's chances to win, but it's going to be a huge match for the USTA Wildcard Challenge as well. I think both Tien and Basavaredi are now on 66 points. Nicolas Moreno de Alboran on 58. Eubanks on 56, I think, and Colton Smith as well on 56. Of course, there's still one more week in Champaign, but tomorrow either Tien or Eubanks, and also potentially Moreno de Alboran, if he beats Alex Bolt, could add 31 more points to the count, which makes this probably the best USTA wildcard race I've ever seen. I mean, some of them were just like, Tristan Boyer against Patrick Gibson, for example. And that's a big contrast to what we have here, where like literally everybody could be a worthy addition to the draw. Well, Colton Smith is a little untested, I guess, but Basavaredi, Tien, Eubanks, and Moreno de Alboran, sure. Great players. Anyway, yeah. Thank you, Mario. Thank you to everyone in the chat.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on some ATP Finals content or whatever, as you saw tomorrow. At least one watch along and the WTA Finals review with Renee Stubbs. Okay, so basically the producer disappeared the moment I wanted to end the show, which means I will just end the show. And well, unless he's back really quickly, but I will probably just end the show instead and put on this one. So once again, bye guys.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.